Hey everyone, welcome to the very first Shelly Panzarella Show, episode 1. I am a huge consumer of podcasts, and one of the best podcasts that I think are always the ones where they bring in guests. And over the course of the 25 years, I have met some incredible people who have helped me on my journey of mortgages, being a mom, being a performance coach, being a consultant. And so I thought it would be great to bring this to our consumers as well, where all of the people that have touched my life in some way, past and present, I would come in and be able to highlight them. And today I'm super excited because I have one of my dear friends, and I think she is the epitome of real estate. She is the epitome of professionalism and poise in the real estate industry. And so also very honored that you are kicking off this episode number 1. I was worried to say your last name, and so every time I introed, I was like, I'm going to say her last name wrong. But it is, please join me in welcoming Valerie Grijalva with Chicago Title.
Thank you.
I said it right?
You did it right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I was like, usually people don't even try to attempt it. They just call me Val G.
Val G?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That might be the
Might
new.
be
Maybe just VG.
Yeah, I like VG.
You like VG?
Yeah, I just think of Val G is like algae.
I love
Sorry.
it. I love it. Well, I'm so excited that you have decided to be my kickoff guest, and thank you for coming.
Kidding. You know, that intro, geez, I'm going to have to play that over and over. That's going to be my morning motivation.
The epitome of professionalism and poise in the real estate industry.
I also think you said that so that I know how to act for
the
remaining
exactly. That's totally
we tend to have we have happy hour
we do
attitude
conversations,
too, which is that's a whole nother podcast. So
this can be that. I know when we get together, we can jam for hours. So I know this will definitely be something of. So I know that this is going to be something that we want to make sure that we hit all of the points, but I will definitely be bringing you back.
Awesome.
Not just on episode 1, multiple episodes.
If I mess up, I'll be okay to come back.
You won't mess up. But I want to start off with everyone getting to know you. So I tell everyone in the industry, 1, you're the best in title. You're the go-to. Now I know you're leading your team, but I say that you're the big boss at CTT. So what, or Chicago Title? What's your actual title?
I mean, honestly, I mean, although it's president of Chicago Title, I actually feel like I am more the servant than the leader, if that makes sense. So it seems like the higher up you go in any job or any thing you do in life, the higher up you go, the less visible I feel that it should be about me. It's about my people. So it's almost like I'm taking a step back. Which seems opposite of the job. But yet everything, the buck stops with me, right?
Yeah.
So I always have to remember that because as I'm leading now, I'm always like, oh my gosh, it's not about me. It's not about my production. It's not about this. It's about them. It's about serving them. It's about ensuring that everything that I'm providing is giving them the opportunity to win the way that they want to win. Not the way that I want to win, but the way that they want to win, because it's not meaningful if it's about me and not them. So it's different, right? I mean, so I hate to say like the title, I'm president of Chicago Title, but I really feel like I'm there to serve them and help them.
Well, I think that's been just who you are. I mean, again, going back to the epitome of professionalism and poise in the real estate industry, I don't think even in your previous positions and places that you've been, you've always held that as your background of who you are.
It's funny you say that because as I was preparing for this today, one of the questions that you had asked was, and I apologize if I get you out of order because
no, you're good.
You had said something about like what I don't even remember the question, but it's actually in line with what you're saying in terms of like how I feel like I was in the past when I was a rep. Like my whole demeanor, like everything that I ever wanted to embody was to win. I'm a competitive person. I wanted to be number 1. I wanted to be the best. Like everything was about winning and about being the best and about being the best that I could be, right? Mm-hmm. So fast forward, it's no longer about that. It's about helping people get to where they need to be. And as a result, as a byproduct of that, I'm winning more, which awesome. You and I have talked about that in terms of choosing who we want to work with. And you look at some of the best agents in the Valley, and I am so blessed to be able to work with them. And you're like, well, how do you work with them? And I'm like, I genuinely like them. Mm-hmm. Like, you're like, well, that's, how can you work with them? Everybody wants to work with them. And it's like, find out what you can do to help them succeed or help them get where they need to go without without them thinking or knowing that you want actually to tag along for the ride, right? Like you want to just help them. If you go in it with an authentic, I guess with just being authentic and trying to help people, it always comes back around. But don't do it to know that you're going to get something in return, right? So I think that's been the shift, because in the beginning, and where you got to know me is I wanted to win. I had to be the best. I wanted to have the best numbers. I wanted, all of this. Now the roles are reversed, and I just want to help. And so that has actually propelled. Had I known what I know now, I would have probably been 10 times happier and 10 times more successful earlier. But I didn't know that lesson. I learned it later, which it's kind of a hard pill to swallow when you look back at your life and you're like, oh, you have all these accolades and it's great. Mm-hmm. But was I happy? Did I sacrifice my family time? Absolutely. Did I do all the things probably wrong that I shouldn't have done, but it got me to where I needed to go? Yes. So, but I learned now, like, it's just help people, be genuine, be authentic. We talked about like trying to find people that you really want to work with. How do you approach them? You just tell them. Like, it's not hard. You tell them, like, 1, like, I want to help you. 2, I want to help you grow. And 3, I genuinely, my whole goal is to work with people like you and be like-minded around people like you. And I think when you come from a place of authenticity, like, it translates and people relate. But that's kind of been my journey.
I agree with you on that. I think the hard part is there's the norm is opposite of that. Mm-hmm. So that's also why you probably excel in that as well, because once people realize you're real, mm-hmm. There's not the filter of like, oh, this is just so she can get business from me. Yeah. It's always about, and I know you, and just from our relationship, it's always just been about creating great relationships. But you're such a giver. I mean, anything and everything, even if it's about like, hey, I got this thought. What do you think about this? Yeah. You will give of your time, energy, resources to help solve whatever it is, or to talk through that. It's funny that you talk about, you winning and where your mindset was, when you were in a different position, because I never saw that as that.
Really?
I never saw, I mean, I always saw the competitive fire, spitball fire, the VG fire that I saw, but I never saw it from a place of, this is because I have to win.
Yeah, that's funny. Looking back now, I mean, my family will tell you, because they know you best, right? They see that. They see the good, bad, and the ugly. They would say like, oh my gosh, like you won't stop until you win. You won't, like, we know you're going to do this because you're going to win, because your drive is so, like, and I would translate that to my boys. I would be like, and this is horrible, so please don't use this example, but we used to say, what's second place? Second place is the first, or you're the first place loser.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So you talk about like bad parenting,
gosh.
But we used to joke, because they would say like, Mom, like you're what place did you come in? I'm like, second. They're like, first place loser.
Oh,
and
wow.
we used to joke about it. But that, like I said, don't take that as a parenting advice
Skill.
at all. Yeah, please don't use that.
That'll be the one thing that gets pushed to social media.
That'll be the one thing that's going to get plastered everywhere. But I do believe, like, you have to have adversity. You have to, I think with kids, as it relates to kids, and this is our own, like, our own experience, you have to push them to their limits while they're under your house, right?
Yeah.
Because when they get out in the world and it becomes tough, and everything is tough, right? When you first start out, and if you don't give them the tools to know that they can overcome something, they're going to quit, because the easiest path is to quit. So I always felt like our job was to push them and to, get them out of their comfort zone. Like, joking about first place loser, we'd say, well, could you do better? Absolutely. Could you have done? What could you have done? Could you have trained harder? That person trained harder. Could you have, like, what could you have done to maybe make that have better, at bat? With us, it was baseball. But how much do you want it? How bad do you want it? What are you going to do when nobody's looking? Mm-hmm. How often is the work being done without the accolades of social media? Like, don't put all your work out on social media. Like, to me, you're putting your work out on social media and then not have the results. It's kind of, I don't know. It's
defeating
like
itself.
Yeah, it's defeating itself.
Hypocrite.
So, being a hypocrite. So I'm always like, don't work out or don't do volunteering to post on social media. Like, to me, it's, I don't know, like, that's my personal thing, and I'm always super aware of how that looks and how that feels to people, because then it's not authentic. And I feel like when you come from a place of being authentic, then, you know, the world is really like at your disposal because you're doing something for the greater good of helping people and not
I agree.
self-serving. And when it's self-serving, I always feel that never does well. Maybe short term or maybe social media, like it would be good for social media. But I've always taught our boys and my husband as well that it just, none of that matters, you know, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and none of that matters. It's you have to turn around and help people. You have to, I think, you get religious. You and I can get deep on
can.
religion.
Yeah, let's do
And
it.
so, well, I laugh
Yeah.
because I'm like, that's also like taboo sometimes. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of who we are. And I think if you look at the Bible and look at what we're here for to serve and how if you follow him and lead the path that, you know, he intends you to lead, it's about others. It's never
Yeah.
about yourself, right? It's remembering that, and that's hard to do. And I am nowhere near perfect, and I am nowhere near like I mess up daily, and I have to have confirmations and affirmations daily to get my mind straight because business is hard. You know, work is hard, and being around people and keeping a positive energy is hard. So you have to work at it like anything else, like
You
a
do it
muscle.
with such ease, though.
Oh,
When I
well,
say poise, that really is.
Yeah, you're being kind.
You're like, you only see me
Yeah,
once
you
a
see me.
week.
Yeah, you see me during that. But, you know, even driving here for this, you know, I could have rocked out and put whatever, but I put on the message, you know, the message
Oh.
for the Christian music, and I
Yeah.
just get my mind straight with. And two of the best songs came on as I'm coming here, and it was just like, oh my God, like this is what I need to hear
Yeah.
to be able to get my mind straight to say what I wanted to
I
say
love
and not
that.
be, you know, anyway.
Nervous
sorry, I
or
didn't mean to get yeah.
no. I
Yeah.
love that you go down that path because I mean we did open with like giving it up to God and
Yeah.
hoping that the words that we say will speak through us. And I think it's a different conversation too because I know for myself the journey, faith journey has really accelerated the last few years, and our conversations
Yeah.
have deepened and been a little bit not that they weren't meaningful before, but definitely driven with a different purpose.
I think so.
Yeah.
And you talk about like, you know, knowing me in the past as when I was a rep, I would say a lot of that was driven by ego. Like I think a lot of being the best and being competitive and wanting to be the best was ego. But what I learned, obviously, ego is edging God out, right? So you're
It's
edging
true.
God out by
Yeah.
having the ego. And so whenever I think like my ego, when I need to put my ego in check, I always say the words out loud, edging God out. Am I edging God out?
That's
Am I
a
edging
great
God out?
acronym.
And I'm like, oftentimes when I'm trying to get my point across or something that is not like I don't feel good about it,
Yeah.
usually my ego is leading
In the
the
way.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
so what do you
It's-
do? So you just
I
say
just
that
say it.
edging God out and
I
you're like,
say
this
it,
is my
edging God
trigger.
out. Yep. And
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
oh, like that. Yeah, you're right. I'm edging God out because I mean, a lot of it when you look at why did I get upset over that? Why did that, you know, why did that get under my skin? And like my ego is bruised. And then I have to literally say, why is my ego bruised?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm edging God out. I'm not being self-serving. I'm not trying to help them or understand them why they lashed out at me. It's not about, you know, me. It's about what's going on with them. How can I turn back around to help them? So that's like a constant reminder to me because I could be pissed and be like, oh, you know, she's being a jerk or she's, you know, she said this and it, you know, really set me on my path and put me in a bad mood. I have to stop. What is it? Identify it, turn it back around on them, go to them and go, hey, I understand like why you said that. What's going on with you? Like, how can I, you know, talk to me, tell me more. And really just, you know, do the whole listen, don't relate, like Tom Ferry says.
Yeah.
Listen, don't relate. And that's hard.
Oh,
that's a hard practice to do.
You literally
you know?
have just dropped like principle 101 of business. I think for a lot of people, well, not even business, relationships, if they just took that, it's just even the power of pause, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that ego, the acronym of edge got out, you just take that moment, but then you reframed it.
It reframed it.
Right.
Went back to him and said, yeah, like what's going on? Like
Yeah.
talk to me. Like why did you feel that you had to say that? Or what is it? What's going on? And kind of just dig and probe and turn it back on them because it's easy just to take their words and then get, you
Apply
know,
it.
and get really bothered and get ingrained and then, you know, really set the path to your day because people can ruin your day like all day
Absolutely.
long with one thing, you know, social media can,
Yeah.
You look at social media and you're just like, man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. I'm not enough. I'm not, and you have to just stop and pause and really like, what is it all about? Like, why is that getting under my skin? Like, what is it in my life that is, it's not about them.
Creating
It's,
these feelings and
yeah. And that's
emotions.
hard. And that
Yeah.
comes with age. I mean, I wish
Maturity?
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had this 10, 15 years ago. I wish I had this sense of calmness 10, 15 years ago. But I don't know. I think age plays a big part of that. And that's wisdom. And, they say what the youth is wasted on the young. Right? Like kind of, you've heard that, like where they get, they've got all the vibrancy and whatnot and it's wasted on them because they don't really know what to do with it and how to channel it. Right. Yeah. So that I look at that, I'm like, yeah, it could be. Yeah. But wisdom, you can't ignore wisdom and when you're selling yourself to business, you have to really highlight the wisdom of, I understand, I've been there, this is what I've learned. And this is the pitfalls that I've had that have put me where I am. So I understand like what could happen. I understand what needs to happen and I understand how to make it happen. So even having that, like I just translated something that is basically an old person
saying it out.
saying it out loud, like? Right? Because you're like, really, you're old. Yeah,
no,
basically you're old. Yeah.
No. I do agree with you though. It's crazy because I've just passed over the 50-year mark.
Yeah.
And it's funny how everybody's like, oh, you've got so much more wisdom. I'm like, you just cross over that day and all of a sudden you have all this wisdom. But I do agree with you as far as this peace and this, you go from this hustle to like harmony in your heart. Yeah. And I don't know if it's, you just get to a point where one, I think it's the faith base that's inside of you. But I also think you start to realize there's so much more that you get when you give.
Absolutely.
And I think that's been your mantra forever.
Huge. God, I'm going to get me emotional about it. But, I always tell people when you're upset or you've got a lot going on, just go volunteer. Like it's
so true.
Yeah. Like, and it sounds so simple and basic. But when you look at other people's struggle and what they're going through, you really look at your life and you're like, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm really complaining because I have to go gas up my own car.
Exactly. Or, I'm not where I want to be right now, but look where a lot of people are. And if you could help just one person, it really just changes your aspect in your life, even for that moment. But like for us, like, I'm constantly like, we went out of town last week and my husband and I were just sitting there and we had a moment of like, the fact that we're able to be here and, we're looking around at a lot of parents and one parent is there because the other had to stay home and work. And we were both there. And we literally just said, let's take a moment and be grateful that we're able to do this. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so for that moment, we were just like, it kind of like was this gratefulness, this piece of, and it gives you just the serene feeling of thank you. Like, thank you for this moment. And when you have gratefulness in your heart, right, life is better.
Absolutely.
Life is like for the smallest things. Like I went to the snack shack and I was laughing because I was and I was cracking up because I was getting a freaking bag of M&Ms that I should not have had. And I was like, and I was laughing because I'm like, thank you for this bag of M&Ms. And I was laughing to myself as I was walking back and my husband looks at me and he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm laughing because I said, thank you, God, for this bag of M&Ms. And he said, well, you should have said, thank you, God, for letting me walk. He goes, because, he said, you should not. Yeah, basically like that sugar packet is not good for you. You're going to have to do an extra set of the miles
extra
around,
working out,
right? And he's like, check your watch and see what that cost you,
that's
calorie wise. I'm like, okay, you're getting too deep.
Yeah.
Like, I just had a moment of gratefulness for my M&Ms,
That's
but
cute.
it just really does. It makes you just stop and be grateful, you know? And I think that's wisdom. I think that's age.
How do you get that though? How do you portray that? I mean, we talk about your kids, your boys. How do your team, how do you relay that down to them where you can like flash them with, hey, listen, you see me today.
Yeah.
I was you years ago. I'm telling you now, this is what you need, where you need to be. And this next 10, 15 years of your life will be so much different if you could just do this. Like, what would that be? What would you tell them?
I think it's seeing people for where they are, right? because I'm thinking of my employees right now and our team members. Like if I look at every single one of them individually, it's figuring out where they are right now and where they want to be. So when there's moments of challenges and they're frustrated, it's sitting down with them and saying, I understand where you want to be. I understand where you are, but look at how far you've come. Look at how amazing you are. Like, and really stopping for the moment and telling them how much you love them, how much you value them, how much you appreciate them. And it sounds so cliche, but when you genuinely tell someone how much they mean to you, whether it's small, like we have so many good people at Chicago Title. Like sometimes I'll just sit and write a little note to them and thank them for the smallest things that they do, because that small thing triggers something else that triggers something else, and then eventually you're creating a culture. And that culture is really what I want my legacy to be at Chicago, is actually having a culture of giving, having a culture of flourishing, having a culture of safeness, having a culture where you want to be, not where you have to be. So all of that takes like everybody doing their part, and it's the little things that make the big things. And so for me, it's identifying the details in that. And sometimes it's hard because I want to tell them what I think they should be doing. And I want to, I see where they're probably falling short of many things. And you have to do it in a way that's loving and they're open to hear it. Because oftentimes you could tell somebody something, if they're not open to hear it, it just kind of goes to deaf ears, right? So you have to pick your moments, and you have to know when that moment is. And for me, it's a work in progress every day. It's like taking that one little moment that I have, that little inch, like my foot in the door, to be able to say something to them. But I don't leave any day now without telling someone how much they mean to me, how much I love them, how special they are, and what they did good. Like every day I focus on, 5 people, and it's 5 people. And it's nothing. Like 5 people is nothing, but at the end of the week,
though, for
it is. It's
for them. It's not a lot. Like you're touching one person. Even one person is a lot,
5.
right?
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, for me, when I look at it, that doesn't seem like a lot. But at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the week, like I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, like I did, I told 20 people that I genuinely loved them, or that they did a great job, or that I'm really proud of them. And I just, and it's just the little things, I just want them to know how impactful they are, because we never know how long we're here for, right? I mean,
true.
we've had some deaths lately that just kind of floored me, that I can't, like you question why, like why did they have to leave so soon? So I try to think about that. I try to not let their death be in vain,
Well, I feel like Chicago Title itself, I always see how well you take care of them. I know month end is always a big deal. We always know, there's going to be, I got to see what her spread is, because I usually will duplicate it at some point.
Yeah.
You're definitely one, and not even just for your team, but I know being on the other side as a strategic partner of yours, you do everything you can to possibly make us feel special. Like I would always come to you like, all right, what do you got up on your marketing sleeve for, because your New Year's Eve always blows me away. And, all of the holiday themes, things that you do. And I know that just comes from a place of your special, your want of being very intentional about making other people feel special.
It's hard. I mean, I just had this conversation with my sales manager. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day or last week, but we talked about moments, like the power of moments. There's a book called The Power of Moments, right? And so he brought the book to me. I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, if we could do The Power of Moments, right? So even taking the energy to do that every day, to read the book, but to even create the power of moments. Like we talked about, and I'll give you a prime example, Easter. Like, so Easter at our office, we used to go and we used to hide Easter eggs for all the employees' kids. So the sales reps would go out and they would go in the front of their
homes?
Of their homes.
Wow.
And then they would hide Easter eggs, and then they would knock on the door, and then the little sign that says there's 10 Easter eggs in the front yard, have fun, courtesy of Chicago Title. Like,
wow.
It's something so small. Like, I think it
That's
cost
amazing.
us like maybe $200 for the eggs or whatever. And then all the reps we split it up and they all dispersed. we had the most amazing, I guess people were so receptive of that little gesture.
Wow.
And it was impactful when we did a video, and it was just so cool because it was different, right? Because we included the kids of our employees. Like we gave them a moment, right? And it was a cool little moment.
Yeah.
So this year, fast forward, right? I was like, hey, what do we do this year? And it got so busy, and then it got like, well, we don't know about safety now. People, do want them to see somebody hiding eggs and
In their
the
own house.
security,
Ah,
and
okay,
all of
okay.
this and whatnot. So then we opted not doing it. And my sales manager said, okay, well, the day of, he said, hey, I'm going to go buy all the chocolate bunnies and we're going to give everybody a chocolate bunny. And I just said, I would rather pass and let's do something else. And he said, why? And I said, it's the moment. We could always buy, chocolate
Something.
bunnies. The parents are going to get them an Easter basket. And
Yeah.
what's another chocolate bunny in
Yeah.
their Easter basket? Like, I don't know. It just didn't, it wasn't impactful to me. It wasn't extra. It wasn't special. It wasn't. So to my message to my boys always is like, did you go the extra step to make someone feel special? That one extra step is really the separator and the 1% of those that do the majority of the business, right? Like
True.
they do one thing different. They do one extra step. They do, whatever it is. If you just go the extra mile because it's super lonely at the top, like think about that. Like it's not crowded at the top for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you have to do one more step.
That's true.
So the Easter thing, I was like super disappointed about it, and I was kind of bumming. And I was like, but that falls on me because I didn't instill it. I didn't push for it. I didn't say, hey, this is important. But I decided like, no, we're not going to just give an Easter bunny because
Just two.
Yeah. So creating those moments
I
is
love
a
that.
lot of energy and it's a lot of time. But when you do it, it's impactful for, for
Well, those
a lot longer.
kids, the family.
Yeah,
I mean,
like we
that's an
still have the video
experience.
we refer
Aw.
to, and the video, the little kids coming out and like their faces lighting up. Like I'll have to show you some of the pictures. I still have one on my camera roll of one of our escrow officer's daughter, and she's at the table with all of the Easter eggs, and her face is like this, where she's just
Aw.
sitting there and she's looking at all the candy in the Easter eggs.
Wow.
And it was just cute. Like it was just
Yeah.
like powerful, so that it made everything worth it, you
Yeah.
know? So the message there would be like, just do that one extra step,
So will you be doing that next year?
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I've already got
already
two
planned?
more. Well, I've got two more holidays where we're working on now.
Good.
And it's not just buying something, it's not just,
Good.
you got to create the moments,
Yeah.
but it's not easy, it's intentional.
Well, and I think it's the thought too, right? But then, because for me,
Yeah.
it's just how do I think about what would be cool?
Mhm.
In my head, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, well, just an Easter egg hunt. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
But just in you relaying exactly how I could just feel the kids' expressions
They were
and
so
emotions.
the when they shrieked when they came out, they're like, oh, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we had the parents film them on their phone and then send us the video.
Aw.
And it was just the cutest thing because you see these little kids running out, like
Mhm.
running to get an Easter egg. And I'm like, in this environment,
Yeah.
to see the innocence of
Yes.
that, it was,
Yeah.
I don't know, it was worth it. And I'm like, that costs like $200 versus spending $500 on chocolate bunnies that just sits at an Easter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just seems so minute and,
When you think about the things that are priceless, right? That
Yeah.
emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
For me, what's resonating out of your statement there is standards, and I think that
Yeah.
of you do hold a high standard
Mhm.
in your business, in the way that you treat people, treat your
Mhm.
clients, treat your team, treat us as strategic partners, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that because you've talked a lot about authenticity, being intentional, but I don't think people understand when we say standards. It doesn't,
It
some people
seems-
resonate with it and some
yeah.
people are just like, what does that even mean?
Well, I think, understanding who your clients are. So we are fortunate to work with, I would say, a third to half of the luxury market.
Mm.
And that's not something we don't take that lightly. We take it very intentional. So coming into our front door, is it something that when somebody comes in that price point, the little details matter, right? Like
Yeah.
they're spending money on an insurance policy. And let's go the opposite end. So somebody who is wholesaling and flipping, right? The price points are a lot lower. You're still coming in, you're having the biggest investment of your life. Like how would you feel if you went to the doctor? And I say this all the time to our staff. You go to the doctor, you get checked in, the receptionist helps you, you go get your vitals from your nurse, and then you get put in a room and they have all of your vitals and everything that they need to treat you, right? And then the nurse comes in and says, okay, well, the doctor says you need this, this, and this. Okay, great, have a good day. And then they leave, right?
Yeah.
How would you feel? Like it's
Like
what do you
robbed.
mean?
Like,
Yeah, what do you mean?
I
didn't
spent
get
45
to see.
minutes
Yeah,
just
I'm
hanging-
paying all this money.
Yeah.
I see the bills. But
Yeah.
I walked in and I'm being, seen. I'm not even getting to see the doctor. Like I don't get to see the doctor. So for me, it's like, what is the standard when they come to see us? Like, what is the standard when they sign? What is the standard, of buying an insurance policy that the consumer is paying for? What are they getting for that? And how does it relate? And so a lot of that is the details of aesthetics of how are we presenting ourselves? Why do we have to dress up in a suit every day when everybody's so casual and can wear jeans? It's the standard in which you're treating them for which they are spending that money on. So why are they any less important to not feel that the biggest transaction of their life means something? So why wouldn't we act that part and be that part? So I'm huge on everybody at Chicago Title will tell you they want to be in jeans and they want to have casual day and I'm firm on no.
Good.
No, it's you go, you elevate, they're paying us for a service. Why should it be less than? Why should it be treated kind of, not a big deal? Like it needs to be a big deal. They're spending money and the money has to represent what that is. And it's a sense of security, insurance, a sense of assurance, right? So you have to play that part. And holding that higher standard is very important because so many people don't. It's very laxed. It's very casual.
Yeah.
And I just think you tend to feel better when you walk into a place that has a higher standard. I think that the details matter. And so for me, the details are very important.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, even in our business personally, on the lending side, from COVID, everybody went home.
Yeah.
Your office went
same.
home, but came back in,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like pretty quick.
Yeah.
We recently just are mandating it's time to come back into the office. We actually took a big leap of faith in getting a new office space. And the statement was, we've been too casual.
Yeah.
And I love how you say that as far as, they are making one of their biggest purchases of their entire life. If we have the discussion on, do we bring pets into the office? Well, it's good for our team members,
Right.
but is it really going to be good for our client who's going to see a
Absolutely.
pet, even if they may be the biggest dog lover
Or
in
if
the
they're
world?
allergic. I mean, so many
Oh,
people
yeah,
are allergic
yeah.
these days, and imagine they come in and they have
Yeah.
they have an allergic reaction,
Right,
And
yeah.
I want to have that too because we've talked about bringing pets in, and I'm like, hey, if the building allows it, great. If they allow it, two, the pet has to be behind closed doors or behind a gate, where it's not in the general public, and it's a comfort to you. Like I'm good with that, but you still have to be mindful of people that are allergic that come in and could flare up and
Absolutely.
and cause
Absolutely.
harm. So I feel like the professionalism, even like nowadays, the standards are
Coming down.
down. And if you look at all of the places that you go and you go to resorts and you go to Nordstrom, right? There's a difference why Nordstrom is still Nordstrom
Correct.
and Walmart is still
Yeah.
Walmart. You can still get everything you need at Walmart and it satisfies your needs and you get a great price. But when you want an elevated experience or you buy something from Nordstrom, you tend to take care of it better
and
because
you feel better too.
yeah,
Different.
and you paid more for it
Yeah.
probably, but you tend to so for me it's that image and that's important
Yeah.
because people spend money on our policy and I don't want it to be taken for granted that it's just, casual. It's not
Yeah.
casual.
But I
Take it very
think
serious.
the way that you actually said it to me resonates because if I were on your team, I understand and I get
I
it.
just want to be
When-
casual. I want to be comfortable so I could do my job, right?
Yeah. And you talk about servant, right?
Mhm.
Servant leadership. As an employee of yours, they have to take the mindset of being a servant leader to your clients, right?
Absolutely.
And that's one of the ways in doing it.
And I always
So I
say
love
to
that.
them, I use the doctor analogy. If you go to the doctor, how would you feel if that were to happen? And
Yeah.
they're like, I'd be pissed. So
So
when they
true.
come here and they don't see you at the signing, or
Yeah.
not that you have to do the signing, but they come in and they don't even get hey, thank you for the escrow, nice to meet you. I'll be in the back office. Notary's taking care of you. Well, don't you think that little touch means a great deal to someone
Absolutely.
who just the notary's going to take care of you. We'll see,
Yeah.
thank you for the order on email. To
Yeah.
me, it's just, And our office does a phenomenal job. I think like they do a great job. I think that our people are the best in the industry for a reason.
I
And I
agree.
think that they work so hard. So it's not to negate anything that they're doing. But for me, it's that conversation of like, go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse is going to see you through
I love
all
that.
the way through, and then think
Yeah.
about that and what that sounds like, you know. And so to me, that's my only example that I can give them that relates to their line of work, because they're like, well, I'm not a doctor, but you pay
When you
that
do.
same money,
Mhm.
right? You pay the same money
Consumer,
when you
yeah.
go and get a checkup. Like, how much are you
Yeah.
paying? You complain about that, and you don't get to see the doctor. Like that
Yeah.
would piss me off.
Well, I do think it starts from the top too. So I
Yeah.
know that you have had, how long have you been at Chicago?
8 years now.
8 years. And
8
how long were
years.
you at your previous?
So 23 years in the business. So
23
yeah.
years.
Mhm.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that
How did you get
crazy?
into the business? I don't think I've ever.
So, it's kind of a funny story. My husband and I was in law enforcement. He's a federal
You were in
officer.
law enforcement?
Yeah. But it's funny to have him tell the story, because he basically said I was horrible at it.
Like a police
Yeah,
officer?
like
or?
a federal, like the pretrial services officer
Get
on the federal
out.
side. Yeah. And
Wow.
so he and I were in the same line of work, and I was kind of, knowing what you know about me now, I was very lenient on the sentencing guidelines. And when somebody came in for a federal crime,
Wow.
they are innocent until proven guilty, and they have to, there's this report that gets written to the court, and you're basically doing a background investigation on them on whether they remain in custody or they're released with conditions. So that was the job. I tended to give everybody like release.
I
Like
can
with
see that.
conditions, and be like, they'll be all right.
No,
They'll
I
be
can see
fine.
that.
And my husband now, at the time we weren't dating, he was just like, you are horrible at this job. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? And down the way was a private investigator who was married to a loan officer. And he said, hey, my loan officer my wife is hiring. And at the time it was something crazy, like, you know, they're going to pay you $25,000 a year. And I was like, $25,000 a year? Oh my gosh, that's huge. You know, like so much money.
Wow.
Like, absolutely. So I went and did it, and got into the mortgage side with
So you
Citigroup.
started in mortgage?
Yeah, I started in mortgage
Wow.
as a processor, then a sales manager, and then went over to the title side. And yeah, I never looked back.
And the rest,
So,
I can't.
yeah.
For as many years as we've known each other, I didn't know that was your.
Well, and I was
beginning.
subprime, so I sold
wow.
9 and 13%. You know,
So this
back.
world is like nothing.
Oh, this is, yeah, I
You're
was like, this is
"Sell
nothing.
it. Let me
This
show
is
you how I do it."
awesome. Are you kidding? You're
Aw.
still at 7.5? Like, that's nothing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, I mean,
didn't know that.
I know, but I always think that shows our age too. When I'm
Yeah,
like,
I know.
that person, like, I remember when it was 9 and 13%.
Yeah.
You're like, how
Yes.
old are you? Like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah.
I know somebody is like, oh, 18%. You remember that? I'm like, I'm grateful that I wasn't in that era, but I've heard a lot about the 18%. I came in when
Well,
it was
the
like
seconds
7.
were 18%. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Oh my
don't know.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
So the seconds were that was common.
Yeah.
And if you had somebody that qualified for a 12% second, you're like, oh, they had great credit.
Yeah.
You know, we used to laugh. We're like,
That's so true.
let's see what that
That is
person
so
looks like.
true.
That person's got great credit.
Great
They're
credit
at 12%,
being like, yeah.
you know? And I
Yeah.
remember we would chuckle about it. But yeah, so that's how I got into it, and never looked back. So I've been in title for 23 years.
That's crazy. So what would you say, whether it's in title or anything else in your world life, what is your greatest achievement other than your boys?
I know.
Everybody, the moms always fall
Right.
back. Oh, my girl,
exactly.
my
My kids, my
my
husband.
kids,
Yeah,
husband.
no. Being a honorary commander for Nellis Air Force Base has probably been the biggest blessing. That is first and foremost. Actually, I shouldn't say probably first and foremost, in addition to having a scholarship in my dad's name.
Oh,
And doing the scholarship in my dad's name means more to me than anything, because it's carrying on his legacy and his memory.
Yeah.
So that is probably the most meaningful. And then I would probably have to say, obviously, the military side is secondary, because of what I've learned and how I've gotten to know them, and the sacrifice that they give every day, and the family members, and what the wives, you know, go through to live this life of service. Talk about service.
Yeah.
I mean,
On the
we talk about being a
secondary,
servant, like that service side is nothing compared to what we do on the business side. So that
true.
has been my biggest accomplishment, is being an honorary for Nellis here locally.
And how did you do that? Did you just sign up? There's like a
Yeah.
list, a waiting list that we just
there's just you just sign up.
Yeah.
So a good friend to this day, he's a general, and I think he's out at the Pentagon now, but he was a commander out at Creech Air Force Base years ago, and he was our neighbor. And then I used to attend functions with him because his wife and my husband they're opposite. They don't like to be out and, they don't like to do anything. They're opposite of, people, anything of people, like they're like, nope. So I was his wingman, so to speak, of all these events. And he used to say, hey, you would be great as an honorary commander. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what you're talking about. So fast forward, he then comes back and he's the general out at Nellis. And he just said, hey, I need you to show up for an event one day and, dress nice. You'll be in pictures. I'm like, okay, great. No problem. So I show up. He inducts me into the honorary commander program. So you had to be inducted by a general or of, someone of higher stature there.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I show up and I'm like, what am I doing? They're like, you're past the flag over and I'm taking all these pictures. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
You had no idea it was happening,
right? Had no idea it was happening.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been the biggest blessing. And it's basically bridging the gap between the community and the Air Force, or actually into the military life.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's being a conduit of having to help them transition to civilian, and not necessarily transition to civilian life, but helping them transition in a way of the community. Because after 9/11, the bases were so insulated, for security reasons. So having someone help them in the community and bridge the gap and bring them into the community, integrate them into the community is really my primary role. But what they have done for me is integrated me into their life.
That's awesome.
And that has been, if I could do it all over again, I would go into the service. I would make my boys go into the service. They've impacted me that much just because they have a level of service that far exceeds anything that we could ever do in business. It's remarkable.
That's awesome that you have because not everybody will ever have that opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't even know how,
commander-in-chief.
I don't know how to. I honestly don't know if there's a sign up. I know that you have to be nominated and you have to be inducted in. So I don't know. I get asked that all the time: is can I be one? Can I help? And I'm like, you could definitely help. You can be a part of it.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
If the doors open up, then slide right in. But it was one of those things where God walked through, opened a door, and it's been, and it has been probably my biggest accomplishment, my biggest blessing, my biggest give back. And now it's a focus of my life that drives what I do every day.
So how is that? What are you doing every day that you're?
So with that, like I said, I think it benefits me more than I benefit them because it's just integrating their life. It's knowing what their needs are. And it could be as simple as, hey, we want to do an outing that they come back from an assignment or come back from parts of the world that are not very, right now you hear about all the stuff's going on. Mm-hmm. A lot of them get deployed and they come back and it's re-engaging with the family to do something together. It could be as simple as that.
And you participate?
Absolutely.
Oh,
It could be sending, the Golden Knights are amazing, absolutely amazing. They give tickets to the military all the time through me, so I'm able to filter these tickets. And that experience and that outing, for which they would not otherwise afford, they mean so much to them. And
That's
they go home and they, text or they'll write me and they'll say, it was the best night ever. And I'm a huge VGK fan now. That night enabled us to decompress, or that night allowed us to reconnect as a family. The little things like that mean so much too. Because we take it for granted. We go to the game and we're like, oh, it's just another night.
Moments, right?
Talk about moments.
Yeah.
For them, they can't afford a $250 to $300 ticket. That's unheard of in the military. So,
nor would they necessarily want to do it, right? It's not something that, or maybe they want to do it, but it's not in a priority bucket or it's like a bucket list thing for them where you're able to give that to them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's through VGK. So VGK is amazing.
Yeah.
Their mission base. Bill Foley is huge with military. Yep. He's got his own foundation. He graduated from West Point. So military service is very, very big for him. So it's in alignment with me. And so I'm like, that's kind of just all runs together. And that's where I say God's purpose really works through us when we believe and we're following him in the way that we should, because then the doors
100%.
open up and then you just get out of his way. I
Yeah.
always say, let me get out of your way and let me, serve you how I'm meant to be served, but let me just get out of your way. And that's hard.
Yeah, no, I
It's
agree
hard to
because
do.
we're so prone to, again, that ego aspect
Yeah.
of it, and we're holding on tight to who we think we need to be.
Mhm.
And he's like, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Give it up.
And let me lead the way.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And that's hard, give up control. But
I know.
when every time I've done that, it's led to amazing things. And now I've got, you saw I got to fly in an F-16.
Yes.
That was, that's a bucket list item that I would never be able to
For
fulfill.
how many
ever.
people? Like nobody will
Ever.
Exactly.
Like you can't just sign up for
I'm
that.
like, oh,
Like,
where
that
is this
was-
at? Is it on the strip that you get to go and hang out
exactly.
in?
No, I will never be able to do that again. And that I don't even know. Just
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just.
But
did
that's a
hold-
huge opportunity that because of you've given so much.
Yeah, they wanted
it's something to
they
serve
wanted to
you.
surprise me. I've got the most amazing commander. His name is Swag. They all have call signs. And he said, hey, I'm going to do something for you. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And show up and train basically for a week on how not to die. Because they train you on, parachuting out. They train you
Oh my
on
gosh.
impact. They train you basically on how not to die. And it was leading up to it. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know how. I can't do this. And did it. And it was, to this day, I'm thinking it's going to go down. It'll probably be on my tombstone.
Oh, well, so
Like,
would
it
that
was-
be hat trick?
Hat trick.
Your call
Yep,
sign is
absolutely
hat trick.
Yep.
And is that because of the hockey and?
That's another story, but yeah, I'll tell
Next
you. I'll
episode?
tell you over a cocktail
Oh,
why
okay.
hat trick came out.
Okay, okay.
Because you're not supposed to. You're not. Yeah.
I gotcha. You're going to teach us a little bit
I'm
of
gonna teach you a little of the
squadron
military etiquette. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I know we have our time is up, but again, I know we could sit here and, like I said, talk forever.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you so much. One, just for being who you are to me, to everybody in the community. It's truly an honor for you to be here on my show. And I love everything that you've just said. Things that resonated with me is be more authentic in my business. Be more intentional. I love the power of moment. I'm going to actually grab that book. Actually, what I will do for those of you listening, if you comment below hat trick in the comments, I will send you a book, The Power of Moments.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
I love
just
that.
for that. So hat trick in the comments below.
I love
And
that.
I will send you The Power of Moments. But thank you for who you are. Thank you for being here
you.
today. Thank you for everything that you shared with me.
I appreciate you. I mean, you
I just
talk
love
about
and
somebody
appreciate
being
you.
authentic. You are the epitome of it. So I
Aw.
love everything that you do. And I love that you're always growing and trying to be the best version of yourself. And I think you set an amazing example for your daughter and
Thank you.
all women alike. I mean, I wish you nothing but success. And I think that you are just one of my favorite humans ever.
Oh, back at you, girlfriend.
I love ya.
love you.
I love you.
I love you too. All right, so that is a wrap. Thank you so much for joining our podcast, the Shelly Panzarella Show, TBD for the rest of that. Make sure that you share this. Make sure that you subscribe so that you'll get information on the next podcast. And with that, that's a wrap. I'll see you on the next one.